Brian, very worshipful sirs, beginning with very worshipful Toby, our representative of our most worshipful Grandmaster, very worshipful sirs, brethren of Muog Lodge, number 89. Magandang gabi na. First of all, I would like to thank you. Maraming salamat po for inviting me as your speaker for today. I hope I can somehow fulfill the role and leave you with something to think about during our fellowship and subsequently later today. Before I start po, brethren, I hope you don't mind if I don't use the mic kasi malakas naman po boses po. And that also primarily because, worshipful sir, I hope you don't mind, I will probably go into the pavement to explain some of the ones that I'm going to highlight today. Brethren, first of all, I'd like to congratulate very worshipful Greg for that truly proficient installation record. I highlight that po because I was listening to Greg and like, wow, if you were listening to him today, especially na dalawang taon tayo, walang installations, I hope that when I provide my message to you, it will sink deeper if you were listening to him, because what I'm basically going to do is highlight points of what he was doing to you when he was going through the officers. Brethren, I only have three messages lang po today for you and the blessing. The three messages relate to you together as a lodge, Muog Lodge number 89. Second, my second message relates to the subjects, the particular subjects of your installation today. Who are your officers, particularly Worshipful Brian and our two new wardens. And third, as I finish both messages, I hope that my third message resonates with each one of you, because that will lead to why magtatapos po ako with a blessing. My first message to all of you, brethren, collectively as Muog Lodge number 89, is to congratulate you. I was with Bishop Joel and very worshipful Toby earlier when we were eating lunch. And what struck me while you were telling stories was, ina-highlight po yung kultura niyo sa lodge. And may nabanggit si Kuya Toby, I hope he doesn't mind, na ina-highlight na there have been many times in your lodge na yung mga brethren here in Muog, ayaw na mag-volunteer for Grand Line duty or ayaw na magbisita. Frankly, brethren, okay yun for me, because when he was discussing it, when he was telling stories about your lodge, nakita ko kung gaano, how harmonious your lodge is. How incredible that reflects the strength of your lodge, as highlighted today by the message of your immediate past master, Kuya AJ. That is something not many lodges have, that strong fraternal bond. And because that best highlights what you did when you first obligated yourself on the altar. You remember? When you obligated yourself on the altar, who are you obligating yourself to? Of course to God, right? Of course to God. But also primarily, not to the Grand Lodge of the Philippines. Although there are passages there highlighting your allegiance. When you obligate yourself, first and foremost, after God, during initiation, passing, and raising, you are obligating yourself to the brethren around you. So that's the craft. That's the craft in its true and highest form. Because yung obligation nyo dito po, when you obligate yourself to God first and to the brethren around you, you may not realize it's a reciprocal commitment. It's a reciprocal commitment. You're not just obligating yourself to God and the brethren. The brethren around you, when you do that obligation, are also manifesting by being there with you physically. That's why we cannot do this online. They manifest by being surrounding you here in the lodge. when you do your obligation in front of the worshipful master, they are manifesting their commitment. Their commitment to make you better, to make each of us better. And that's what I hope to highlight in my first message to you as a lunch collectively. Congratulations on, napaka-strong ng fraternal bonds nyo. But remember that it's more than that. Kung yun lang, edi, alam mo sa Rotary, ganun rin eh. Sa Rotary clubs, di ba? Maybe not Lions, may Lions po dito. Maybe not some other clubs, but in some other non-philosophical fraternities. I'm a member of 2 others. Di ba? In a college fraternity na close kayo. Meron yung ganun, di ba? Ano yung diferensya? Ano yung diferensya? That reciprocal commitment. That when you obligate yourself to God and your fellow brethren in the lunch, your brethren, by their presence, are also manifesting their commitment to help make you a better man. Seriously, to help make you a better man. That leads me to my second message today. The officers now, particularly the 3 officers who are now occupying the 3 primary positions of governance in the lodge, specifically Worshipful Bride. Brethren, nagtataka ba kayo? Have you ever wondered, bakit sa atin, instead of 1 vice president effectively, may 2 tayo? Diba? And bakit, if you look at the Masonic logo, napakalakas ng Worshipful Master. Remember my first message. Masonry's duty, our duty to each other, the craft, our duty to each other is to make each of us better. Eh kung ganun, ang lakas-lakas, when you become Worshipful Master, you almost have total power as governor of the lodge. Bakit ganun? Bakit ganun? If you are a lawyer, may mga abogado mo dito, fellow peers, can I have a raise? Can I, Kuya Toby, sino ba? Kaming 2 lang? Buti na lang. Anyway, may sikreto ako na sabihin sa inyo, trade secret among us lawyers, kami ni very Worshipful Toby. In law school, we are trained to be suspicious. I'm not joking. We are trained to be suspicious. Because in law school, the view of law school here or in the US, okay, is that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power tends to corrupt absolutely. That is why if you look at the Philippine model of governance, the US model of governance, it's all checks and balances. Because the governance framework that Kuya Toby and I learned in law school is all about keeping power in check. If you don't, magkakaproblema tayo, maabuso yan. Yet, our Worshipful Master has near and complete power to govern the lodge. If you look at our Masonic book and our traditions, more importantly, our traditions. Bakit ganun? Ganon kasi our governance framework is not founded on the same principles we learn in law school. It is not founded on the view of power as corrupting. Hindi po. It is founded on the view of power. I'm sorry, it is not founded on power. Governance in Freemasonry, although we do have, and you cannot avoid that, we're human. Although our Masonic law book does have systems of accountability. But primarily, if you look at our ancient traditions, governance in Freemasonry book is not about power. It's not about power. What do you think about when you see your immediate past master? Si Kuya AJ. You don't see him as somebody who is powerful. Diba? You see him first and foremost as somebody you trust. Governance in Freemasonry is not founded on power. It is founded on trust. And that is why, if you go there with the wrong notion, worshipful master na ako, yung masasabi ko, yun yung dapat gawin. Mali yun. That's based on the wrong notion of how governance should be exercised. Governance in Freemasonry is about the humility of knowing that when you are installed there by your brethren, they are installing you because they have full faith and confidence in you. Bakit? Ayan. The reason why we have two wardens. There is an innovation in our Masonic law necessarily because institutionally we want to avoid the situation na walang qualified to be master kasi hindi nag-warden. But if you look at our tradition, brethren, in order to get to the Oriental chair, you have to pass traditionally both. You have to fulfill the role first of junior warden, then senior warden before you become master. May dahilan yun. May dahilan po yun. And that is founded first and foremost that when you finally get there, you've had two previous roles that the brethren, seeing you in those roles, can truly say, you, as our new worshipful master, have full trust and confidence in you. Bakit po? Kasi what you do in these respective roles as junior warden and senior warden is different from what you will do as worshipful master. Let's start, okay, with our junior warden. Kuya, I hope you don't mind na magdadagdagan ko yung charge ni very worshipful Greg. Your first duty as junior warden is to find your junior warden's column. Okay? Dito na po. Nandito pala. Okay. If you notice, brethren, the junior warden's column, when we're working, walang space po kasi, but usually it's down, di ba? Yes. And when we're not working, we are in recess, the senior warden's column goes down, this goes up. When we're in recess, when we're adjourned, diba? Who are the assistants of the junior warden? You will see that our stewards are seated in front of the junior warden. That highlights to you the role of the junior warden as founded on his jewel, the plum. Okay? The plum symbolizes upright behavior, as founded on the fact that before we talk about skills and competence, we must talk about mentorship. The duty and role of the junior warden is not to worry about the esoteric work. Ayan, may senior warden tayo. Not to worry about that. The duty and role of the junior warden is, as highlighted in his charge, to look after and mentor the brethren so that they, okay, will further build those fraternal bonds. That's why he has the plum as his jewel. Upright behavior. It highlights the one value that he should be having, that he should develop before he becomes senior warden, and that is empathy, as highlighted by 3 forms of love. Hindi romantic love, Hindi romantic love. Hindi eros. 3 forms of love. First is family love. Okay, that's our first temple. The temple where we exercise family love. But second, here, the second temple, where we exercise philia. There are 4 kinds of love: eros, family love, and third. Sorry, I forgot the term for family love. But the third form of love that we exercise in this temple together in fellowship is philia. That's why brotherly love is separate from charity. Brotherly love is philia, remembering each other. That's the second temple that we have. As you know, our congregations teach us the third temple is within our hearts. Not just brotherly love, but charity. Agape. The love that we build with reflection in our hearts is a perspective for the other. Your junior warden in his role in mentoring all of us here, okay, is developing that role of empathy so that eventually, when he gets to senior warden, he has that perspective for the other. He has that perspective for the other. In short, for him, it's about knowing how to love. Particularly in our three sentences, our family. Here in our lodge, this second temple, which focuses on brotherly love or philia, and the temple in our hearts, which is agape. Our love for humankind to be of service to others. Without that, he will not be a good senior warden. When we're working, ito po, nakataas to. That is symbolic of the fact that our work, it's in its esoteric form, most essentially, is about building that temple in our hearts. When we do so excellently, when we do so competently, that is the essential role of our senior warden, and that is why his jewel is the level, which, if you remember, very worshipful Greg's charge to him is all about equality and equity, as symbolized in the work that he does, the work that he supervises. Unlike our junior warden, his role is to supervise the craft, as highlighted not just by the fact that this is up when we work, but also by the fact that he has the deacons to assist him in doing the work. The senior deacon, as you know, is instrumental, fundamental to the lecture of the second degree in the fellow craft degree, where we highlight our role as mature individuals who learn and become better men. The junior deacon, in case you don't know, the third section of the Masonic law book, it provides our bylaws, lodge bylaws. Bakit may lodge bylaws? Because before Grand Lodges, there were lodges. And the model bylaws in that Masonic law book, the section 3, that provides the rules that govern lodges even before there was a Grand Lodge. In those bylaws, it very specifically highlights that the worshipful master can appoint everybody, all the other officers in the lodge, except the junior deacon. That is the senior warden's perspective. So that highlights that they assist him as a supervisor of the craft. That is why on the level, as we measure whether we are competent, whether we can fulfill our potential as brethren. Empathy, excellence. If you have that, then the brethren can bring you forward. Can bring you forward to be their worshipful master, because it is founded on trust. They trust that you will not only be empathetic, okay? They will trust that you're not only competent already, but that you symbolize the symbol, the symbol that worshipful Brian wears, the square. Going back to very worshipful Greg, what does the square symbolize? Virtue and morality. Not empathy, not competence and excellence, but wisdom. The wisdom to have the discretion to act appropriately in two ways. First, will what I do be in accordance with my core principles? And second, is what I am doing, will it create value? So, you can see here, brethren, that if you go through the stations, they teach you in your role a question that you should learn to answer when we go about being an officer in this lodge. Junior Warden, okay, highlights basically the question, what should we collectively do together? Perspective on the other. The Senior Warden highlights the question, what is right? What is measurably right? Kaya nga may level po, di ba? The Worshipful Master, however, goes beyond that. The Worshipful Master's role is to ask for the lodge, what is good? What is good? And that is why, traditionally, the office of Worshipful Master is not a privilege. In the way that Worshipful AJ fulfilled it, it is a charge. It is a mode of servant leadership to all brethren who fully trust, have their full trust and confidence in you. So that leads me now to my third message. We now know from the installation, I've just rephrased what very Worshipful Greg said. We now know why every year we have to do this, so that we emphasize to these three officers in particular the importance of their roles. Here's my third message to you. To you, each of you, collectively. Not collectively, but personally. Okay, how does this make us better? Individually, how does this make us better? As you can see, from the way I highlighted it, if you really go through the individual roles of these three officers and you complete that circle, you can, on thinking of it, see that it is a complete, of course, it's not a religion. It will not offer you salvation, but it is otherwise a complete system of ethics. That if you practice it, although we will fall, although we will fail, the point is that we keep going and get up and move on and develop ourselves better because we're human. But if you practice it diligently, you will not have regrets. Because you're always asking yourself, going towards you becoming a true Freemason. I want to highlight first, ano pa ba ang totoong Mason? It's not being a card-carrying member of the Grand Lodge of the Philippines because we're the regular Grand Lodge exclusive in this jurisdiction. No. Ang totoong Mason is at the end of your life, if your brethren here in your lodge can say that may minahal ka. May minahal ka. Okay? Ginamit mo yung gifts na binigay ng Diyos sa'yo. And may halaga na ginawa ka for others through your life. Dahil nilagay ka ng Diyos dito. You can see why it's important therefore that we have a God that centers all of this. May minahal ka. Ginamit mo yung binigay ng Diyos sa'yo. Your talents. At more than maximizing them, anong halaga na binigay mo sa mundo habang nandito ka? Not yung halaga na nakuha mo. Not how rich you are. But what value you gave to society while you're here. Kompleto po. It's a complete system of ethics. It's the most beautiful and oldest system of practical ethics around. And it's something that we can use every day po. Di ba po? So that's what I'm going to leave you today, brethren. I leave you with a threefold Masonic blessing that happens every time we do an installation. It's threefold. It's a threefold Masonic blessing because, first, every time we do our installation every year, if you remember the second to the last paragraph of Very Worshipful Greg when he's finishing his final speech, we are celebrating for our children and their children's children We are celebrating the fact that we are together every year and privileged to be part of this club. To have somebody we can fully trust and be confident in, to be a steward for all of us. That's the first of it being a threefold blessing. Second, it's a manifestation of commitment. It's a manifestation in commitment that, others might see our governance system as funny because we're giving so much discretion to our worshipful master. But we don't see it that way. We don't see it as giving power to him. We see his office as an opportunity for him to exercise trust. And by that become a better man. It's our commitment to that unique system of governance. So it probably will not work, somewhere else. But most importantly, three of the threefold Masonic blessings that we have today. It is the fact that when we do an installation every year, when we give our new officers their charge, brethren, it's an opportunity for each one of us. Each one of us to reflect. Paano ako nagmamahal sa buhay? How do I treat others? Upright behavior, di ba? Oh, am I fulfilling my true potential? Ano yung mga gifts na binigay ng Diyos sa akin? Am I being truly the best I can be? Iba yun from the third question. Anong halaga ng binibigay ko sa mundo, sa society? How do I exercise my competence and excellence and my empathy in a way that is truly cognizant with one, my core principles, and one that creates value and minimizes harm for everyone. Because when we keep at that, we're human. We're always going to fail. What's important is not that we fail, but we're going to keep going. When we do that and we reflect, when we have these installations, we have that opportunity to reflect, we'll get closer to the possibility that when we finish with this life, when we climb up into the celestial lodge, our brethren will truly say, yes, there is a true Freemason who has truly entered into the glory of the Lord. Maraming salamat mga kapatid at mabuhay ang kapitiran natin.